Hello everyone. Today we're going to do a lab on projection texturing using Photoshop. I just tried to do this a moment ago and it didn't work how it used to. And I think I know why, and I'm going to explain that in just a second. So the first thing I'm going to do, I just want to show you the issue I had first. I'm going to start by creating a polyplane. And the next thing I need to do is I need to make sure, the reason I'm choosing a polyplane first of all is because in my UV editor it is already unwrapped for us perfectly. So I don't need to worry about unwrapping it. Now, that being said, I need to make sure in my Windows, Settings, Preferences, and Plugin Manager, we need to scroll down to something called OBJ Export. Something like that. Here we go. objexport.mll. So make sure you have that as loaded and auto load. All of these do different types of things, all of these plugins. Obviously you see not all of them are on, and that's because when they are on, it takes longer for Maya to start up loading. So for sake of just the speed of Maya, it's good not to have all these on. So anyway, make sure your objexport.mll is on, loaded in auto load. I always like to click refresh and then close. Now the reason we need that on with our, I'm going to select my arrow tool and go to object mode and select my object. The reason we need that on is because we're going to export this as an OBJ. An OBJ file is a very generic, standard file type that works across almost, if not all, 3D softwares. I know a lot of 3D printers, they can probably read OBJs now. I'm not positive on that. I'd have to double check, and it would depend on the printer. But typically a lot of 3D printers now use a .stl file type. At least last time I checked. But they probably can read OBJs. I'm not positive though. So anyway, export selection. I'm going to just click right here because we get our little settings up here anyway. And I did this polyplane before. So polyplane demo.obj, and make sure down here under file type you scroll down. By default it'll be here, Maya binary. Scroll down to OBJ export. Then go ahead and click export selection. I'm going to click yes. I want to replace it. And now in Photoshop, I want to show you that over here, just by in their default user interface layouts, they have it for graphics web, motion, painting, photography, 3D, and essentials. So by default it'll be on essentials. You can switch this to 3D. It's supposed to automatically switch anyway when you open a 3D file type, but in case it doesn't for you, at least now you know where to find it. So I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to do my polyplane demo. I'm going to go ahead and this should all be fine and click OK. Now I'm getting this reading wavefront file type. You saw it really quickly, I hope. And then it says cannot complete your request because 3D functionality is currently disabled due to OpenGL being disabled. Click OK. Go back to File. Then we're going to go down to, Edit. We're going to go down to Preferences and General. From here, if you go to 3D, it says OpenGL drawing must be enabled to use these settings. So in order to find that, we're going to go to Performance, and we're going to hit Use Graphics Processor and click OK. And actually, before you click OK, go to 3D, and now you'll see that you can now access all of these settings. So click OK. Now I want to show you one more time. Polyplane demo.obj. Click OK. And I thought this was really interesting, and the only reason why I'm showing you this is because this used to work in previous older versions of Photoshop. It doesn't appear to be working anymore in Photoshop. So I was really wondering if there was some type of glitch or something like that. So I went ahead and I'm going to go back into Maya, and I'm just going to delete this one, and I'm going to do a cube. On this cube, I'm going to do a UV automatic layout. We did this in a previous lab, so I don't think I really need to go into too much detail, but UV editor, and you see it's all laid out here for us. Now, with that being said, I'm going to now File, Export Selection, cube.obj, make sure it's an OBJ file export, and click Export Selection, and yes. I'm going to go back into Photoshop and open the cube and click OK. And of course, I literally just did this a second ago, it worked just fine. Cube.obj, open. OK. And of course not. So maybe it is a glitch. Cube, OK. I'm just going to check really quickly. So I'm going to exit out of Photoshop really quick, and I'm going to reopen and see if that fixes this little glitch that I just ran into. I'm going to, just for sake, I'm going to export selection one more time. And I'll name it under something different. And my Photoshop is reopened. There we go. And I'm going to try this one more time. Cube2.obj. Okay. There it is. So I just ran into that glitch. That's never happened on older versions. It could be because I'm running a lot of things right now. The screen capture itself takes up a lot of memory, and I'm on an older computer. But by default, you should, on this tool right here, and up here it'll be 3D mode, and you should be able to rotate around your object. Pretty cool. So, with that being said, I want to show you how to project textures on this object. Now, for a second, I thought it wouldn't work on polyplanes because it wasn't a closed object. I don't know if that's the case now or not, but I'm going to try it one more time and see if it'll open this time. If not, it's just some type of glitch. No, it worked just fine. So, for whatever reason, if you run into that error, go ahead and just close Photoshop, reopen it, but make sure you have all those settings reset. So, that being said, after you turn on OpenGL, close Photoshop, reopen it, and it should work just fine. So, from this point, I'm going to show you on both objects since I have them both open. I'm going to open up one more object, and I have this. I'm going to include this in our canvas shell. I'll click Open, and Control A, Control C. Control A is to select all, Control C is to copy, and Control V over here is to paste. And I'm going to press Control T. We've already gone over these, and I'm zooming out using Control minus, lots of keyboard shortcuts. And I just want to go ahead and show you that you can project directly onto this. So now that I'm in, I dropped a 2D, and Control 0 will zoom in all the way to your stage size or canvas size. So once you paste your 2D image onto the canvas, you don't have the 3D functionality anymore unless you click your 3D object. But I want to show you something else. If I go into diffuse initial shading group and I double click on this, this is going to open up the UVs. You see the UVs. This is it added it converted it into triangles, but that's what this is. This is the UV shell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and sometimes the link between your object and the shading group break, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. I think in more recent versions it's working a lot better, but in old versions it would break all the time, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But right now I'm going to go over here, I'm going to create one new layer just for fun, and if I go back here, you'll see the little spin there. That means it's updating this. If it doesn't do that, it means the link between the initial shading group here, your UVs, and your object have broken. So that's one easy, fast way to tell if it's a broken link or not. Anyway, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to right click on my layer 2. And from here, I'm going to do merge down. And now you'll see that right along that is the image that we had. And I'm going to go over here, and you'll see just on my layer 2, it has projected that texture directly onto our UVs, which is awesome. It's incredible. And just for simplicity kind of purposes, on my layer 1, of course not, it will not. What tool am I on? Okay. Well, let's go to a shape tool. I was trying to use the fill bucket tool, apparently didn't want to work very well, so I'm going to go here, and of course my fill color isn't on. Go black, and I'm going to go and do this one more time, and I just want to show you. Now my background here is black, and if I click, so that's on my rectangle 1 layer, or you can always rename it, and flowers, grass, whatever. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my polyplane demo, and it should update, and you'll see when I select there again that it worked just fine. And you can do anything you want. So if I were to just grab a brush tool and start sort of drawing on here, I'll go back over here, and it will be projected right there. Now I'm going to undo that. Let's see if it worked. Yeah, it did. So the next thing you always kind of want to remember if you're going to do some custom things like that, always try to remember to create a new layer, go back, and usually undo will break the link, and I guarantee that this is not going to work this time. And you'll see it did break the link. So undoing will break the link, so it's important to remember. Now here's what I want to show you. How do we fix that link? Close out of this, do no, and now here double click this again, initial shading group, and this should and it'll add a 1 every single time it breaks and you need to redo this. And then go over here, you'll see it should update, and let's just use a tool like this and say and just to show you, you can really pretty much do anything to this. There you go. And then I can go ahead and go right click, merge down. Where'd you go? Oh, one other thing. Because this is not, this is a different type of layer with the text, the easiest way to get this to be possible to merge down, using the eraser tool, click on the screen anywhere it says, this layer must be rasterized before proceeding, its text no longer blah 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 blah. Click OK, right click, merge down. Now, if we go over here, we have our new layer and we call this text. And you'll see that it is projected directly on there. And if I go back here, you'll see that in comparison to our UVs here, I'm trying to get this sort of like the best top view I can get. And over here, they're basically identical, obviously. So again, you can do that. I'm going to go to the cube here, and I'm going to paste down that image, and I'm going to merge down. And I want to show you there's a lot of, you'll see how it just merges right down on there, which is awesome, but it only looks good from about this angle because that's the way we merged it down. When you get over here, you get a lot of texture stretching. So depending on your mesh, merge down. And that did not work very well at all. But you see the point that I'm trying to make here. If I double click on here, you're going to want to make sure that if you're projecting textures and things like that, always create a new layer. And the reason for that is because when you get back into Control V, I'm not doing any really fine detail, but I'm going to show you really quickly. I'm going to merge down here, and which side do I like the best? We'll just go ahead and kind of mess around with it. So on my newest layer, I'm going to do something called layer and layer mask and reveal all. And from this point, black and white are our colors. I'm going to use black to erase, white will show. And now I can get some clean projection texturing on both of these. So something like that. I don't know, I just undid, so hopefully it doesn't break the link, but no, it didn't. And you'll see that I don't know which edges, or you can start to get these to look a lot cleaner. One final thing, it's just a really cool, useful trick, using that reveal mask trick. One last thing you can do is you can change the lighting. So if I click on the light, you're going to see I have this. This is basically the direction of which way the sun or your light source would be coming from, and you can go ahead and just rotate it around to any side you want, and then double click off of your object, rotate around, and you'll see that your light source is more on this side now. That's all I've got for projection texturing. Go ahead and upload an image. It could be a polyplane or cube with the entire object. I'm not too worried about distortion or anything, but if you want to get some practice, try using that reveal all, and just go ahead and submit something similar with, include some text on there, or you know, use a brush tool, just play around with it, and just kind of get comfortable with it, because it's an excellent way to texture your projects in this course. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the lab, and before I close, let's go ahead and save this out. So this is my image right here. I'm just going to do it for the polyplane. My polyplane here. I'm going to go over here, and I want to save it out. This is my layer that I want to save out. So first of all, if I'm going to save a file out like this, to apply, actually you can save out this and it'll be like a large, it used to be a large document format, .psb. I'm just going to save it out as a PSD if that's how they're doing it now by default, and I'm going to hit save. For just sake of how the old formats used to be, I'm going to do that, large polyplane demo on a .psb file. Click OK just in case. And then over here on my file, I'm going to save this one out. It's always good to have a large document file. More than one file type, and I'm going to go back to here and projection texturing, and I'm going to save this one out as a .tga and projection demo. Now click 32 bits, OK, back into Maya. I'm going to have to create a polyplane, and I'm just going to do it under my Lambert, and file and open and projection demo.tga, and make sure you press 6, and you'll see right there is my polyplane with my projected texture on there. Excuse me. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this demo, and stay tuned for the next video.